Hello everyone, welcome to a new market update. My initial idea was just to make a quick video about BTC, Total 3, BTC Dominance and USDT, right? Just a quick look after all these recent days. But since most of us want to know when the real run for altcoins can happen, I decided to take a deeper look, and perhaps I have found something that could be useful, right? So first of all, let's take a look at the BTC chart, the daily chart, of course. This is the, as you know, the main chart I'm using for BTC. And yesterday I posted that I added the next big level for BTC. It's around 105k, right? Which was the level that it couldn't hold as support after being rejected, right? And it's been obviously, as you can see here, rejected in the previous leg in Q4 and the same now, right? So that's the ultimate gate for an all-time high retest. In terms of oscillators, we can see that the MA keeps rising, and BTC is threatening to lose it again, the same way it did here, perhaps, or a bigger rollover. In my opinion, we are not in that phase, considering how also stocks are pushing and there are no any official data to be released soon that could compromise this leg. We just have the China agreement. Everything looks great for continuation. There might be some small pullbacks, you know, it's a trader's market as well. And everything looks good, but in the short term, we might see something like this choppy area here, right? RSI might cross briefly. Stock RSI, the good thing is it's cooling off the same way it did here, right? I said that perhaps we could enter this flat correction in terms of oscillators, but I think it's way better that if price just chops between 102.5 and 105, this could be huge, accepting this new area the same way it did here, by the way, front running this. While the stock RSI resets, perhaps some small break below, as I said, pushing it here. The thing about this big push here, big candle, is that this big level here, 98, which was resistant for quite some time, right? From early February to late February, like 15 days. I'm not sure if this could pull back down and retest it for liquidity, because BTC just decided to slide through it. But we never know. This 92k area was front run as well, with just a small retest here, so we don't know, right? The moment we start the true acceleration phase like we did here, right? We broke the previous all-time high in 2024, and we never looked back until the correction, right? So we never know, we just adapt. On the weekly, everything looks fine. So it's just some daily cool off, I'd say. You can see there's still room. Again, stock RSI is not the main indicator, RSI is. This just tells us when we are entering overheated or oversold areas, so we can act together with RSI to make decisions, right? So far, so good. We might be around here with this expansion candle, all good. But I wanted to take a look and compare with Total 3, right? How our altcoins were doing in this last impulse in Q4, right? Because for now, or by now, I think people have received or have seen so many data, information, different takes for months on Twitter that they might just have forgotten how these developed. So if we take a look, we can see that Total 3 pretty much run together with BTC, right? And the true explosion, this we can see BTC broke the all-time high here, right? Total 3 didn't until a bit later, right? But the thing is, when BTC found this top area building this bearish divergence, right, the weakness, which pointed out that it could be the end of the weekly leg, that's the moment total 3 really exploded. You can see that BTC starts pretty much chopping here. Total 3 had the last impulse. For now, it is pretty much mimicking BTC in the sense that it's climbing together with it, right? We can see that BTC is getting close to that all-time high level, while total 3 still far from it, like it did here. Right? It needed quite some more time. It's always lagging a little bit. The thing is, will we have this final impulse to catch up and then everything will roll over again with no real old season? Let's see what BTC dominance did back then. Again, this final big push coincided with BTC getting exhausted and BTC dominance completely rolling over, right? This was already at the all-time high range for BTC, clearly all-time high, well above the 74, something like that area. And the difference now is that BTC dominance has been rolling over way earlier. So, based only on this, I imagine, or I think of only two options. Either this is an exit pump, right? Let's say, I don't want to say the word trap, but something along that thoughts, right? You just push everything, make people believe this is the start of the new season, while BTC hasn't broken the all-time high yet. Remember that when BTC dominance rolled over, it was at the start of this weakness for BTC, right? Even though it extended a bit more. It was like saying, okay, BTC is done or close to be done, so let's start the final push for altcoins, right? And make people believe this is the old season, the start of the old season, when it was actually the end of this whole move for the whole market, at least locally, in my opinion, right? I still believe the market will die in euphoria. That's my bet, right? And for now, that's just my conviction move, not data-based. So either this is kind of a trap because it started way earlier than BTC reaching all-time high, or this could be the start of what we might see later, which is BTC reaching all-time high and BTC dominance by the time BTC reaches its top. Fibonacci wise, it could be around 130. Blow off top, it was 180 something, I think it was, with the Fibonacci 1.6, the golden ratio. And this is just the start of the old season. We see BTC dominance really cascading, breaking the 200-day moving averages, as you know I've been tracking. And this is just the initial move, right? The disbelief move. We don't know. This is about risk management. This is the tricky part, right? When you don't know if it's going to be a trap, but you just let it run. It's impossible to know until it happens, right? So, what do I think now? Well, I keep paying attention to the rest of the charts. First, let's take a look at total 3, which is one of the main indicators for an alt season. And so far we broke, this is the daily chart, okay? We broke this 834 level, more or less, 85 or 45, something like that, you know, this level that I said could be attacked and would be attacked. And then we got rejected here, a very, very important level, right? Dating back to even 2021, right? And I said, if you flip it, all-time high is next. I mean, that's not, you don't need to be a genius to understand that or to see that. You can have some intermediate resistance here. Again, but this is, in my opinion, just daily chops within a new high time frame trend. Thing is, this resistance has coincided with various divergence here in the daily and a rollover, right? Does it mean we are going to completely roll over to the previous level? Let me tell you something. When you see bearish divergence, doesn't mean price has to really roll over for it to cool off. We have seen many times with BTC, gonna hide this, that the reset can happen, right? The reset of the oscillator can happen going sideways, right? So it doesn't really have to happen that way. In fact, the most recent leg, we saw this potential bearish divergence here, right at resistance again. This bear market dead cat bounce. And what did we see later? Another push, retest, and another push, all with this overheated area, right? We even completely reset with stock RSI wise. The daily broke below. The bottom pretty much held this bottom. So that's why I don't trade the daily once the new weekly trend is created. We might see this. Imagine you again try to outsmart the market to anticipate it, and you leave expecting to enter here. That's up to you. You can perhaps you hold here, and then you have a retracement and you regret not selling, or you sell waiting for this, and then you are just left behind and forced to buy higher. That's why I play the high time frame. So the good thing is, for now, it is holding this new key level. I didn't expect it to be this fast, but I mean, that's why I said to let it all run and unfold. This might retrace a little bit. I hope it holds, because otherwise it could retrace back to 900, even a bit lower here in the low time frame. Again, I don't really care. It's like this shopping area. The moment we hold key levels, I don't care how long it takes, right? The weekly looks clear, right? You can see that it's still battling this area, but RSI wise, it's a whole new cycle, right? Again, don't get fooled by this. We have seen many coins getting their biggest impulses while stock RSI was already overheated, because RSI wasn't overheated yet, right? This shows momentum, and this is like a secondary indicator, right? You can see here that, as I said many times, above 70 RSI is when magic happens. And you can see that stock RSI was already very overheated here, where it just crossed. And you can say it crossed in this second candle, breaking the previous level, and then a huge pump, right? So still plenty of room even to get to 80. Everything looks good. So daily wise, BTC is hinting correction, chop. It took 2 weeks around these levels, around 94, 95, before exploding again. What about now? It's been from the 8th of May, 1 week. We could stay longer here. And in fact, the longer we stay here, the better. We haven't had any meaningful correction here in this new leg, right? Pretty much like here from the bottom, we had some several corrections, right? Until the bearish divergence that ended up in the end of this weekly leg. And I said yesterday that we haven't had any meaningful pullback. So by the time it comes, if it really happens way higher, the rollover could be very, very big. Same way I said with BTC dominance, which is the chart I'm going to open now. I said that not having any meaningful pullback here on the weekly, right, was very, very strong since pretty much Q4, would open the door to a big rollover, and so far, so good. We can see the complete rollover here from the weekly. It's a matter of time, so be careful, because we could see the same once total 3 or BTC decides to roll over. I wouldn't be holding if we see something like this without any meaningful pullback. I would rather quit and wait for a new opportunity. There will be plenty of opportunities. That's my approach. I would rather leave 20, 30, 40% on the table than holding another 60% drop or 70% drop. Who knows how it all develop. BTC dominance will be key, right? And what BTC dominance is showing right now, after breaking all these key levels that I drew, support here, tried to reclaim, perfectly rejected, tried again, perfectly rejected yesterday, and it lost this level, and now it's bouncing from very oversold levels. I mean, another bounce here, it wouldn't be unexpected, right? But again, the high time frame dominates the trend. So even if we have some chopping between the daily or even the 4 hour, the high time frame, which is the weekly, is showing us that this has just started. Again, these weeks show the daily moves, right? But what's the trend? Down. I wouldn't care about these daily fluctuations, like here, whatever. It's just all you have to do, in my opinion, is just wait. Look at the way it's still trying to reclaim this level. I didn't expect it again to happen this fast, but I said this would be key because this was a stronger level before, strong resistance. So it might act as support now, but it's been going down fast. And the most important levels, as I showed here in orange, 61 and 60, which also coincides. I'm going to remove this for a second. It also coincides with the 200, pretty much, right in between. And as I said many times, we had the fake out here in Q4, this 200, which by the way has held all this cycle, was lost in 2021. That's the key for the alt season. And if we take a look at the daily, look at the place where BTC dominance is battling now, is chopping now. It's an important area. This 62 area is really, really strong for BTC dominance, right? Remember, it was rejected at first, and then it was reclaimed with this chop, right? And now breaking below, this is another confluence point in my opinion. Look at how these levels that I initially just drew based on this, you can see that they extend down, back to here, right? Very meaningful. Even 2028, 2017, huge level for BTC dominance. So if these levels are lost together with the 200, by the time this happens, I will take a look at total 3. I will take a look at BTC and reassess and say, okay, perhaps we're good to go, right? So might we see a break below, I said, going down to perhaps this fifth level, 50 cent, which would be a big drop. Then we have a correction back to the 200 that might be around 60, making people believe this was just another fake out. And then, considering how the monthly is shaping, I'm gonna show it later. I'm gonna show the RSI indicators. It could be a retest, bearish retest, and continuation into the real old season. Think about that. Let me show the RSI again, and I'll show you what I mean. If we go to the monthly, this is shaping perfectly as we said. We need this to break. I said that there was no divergence here on the RSI. The only divergence you could argue was this stock RSI, this momentum. So far, it seems that it's enough. And I said, we need to break this. Not because I said it, because trust me, bro, it's because we saw that before. We need that, data-wise, to have an old season like in 2021, or at least a true powerful move for altcoins. So what if by the time that happens, right, the 60, the break, let's say by the end of May, we are testing that 60 level that 200-day moving average, and we see something like this in June, a pullback back to from 57 back to, let's say, 60, 61, right? Like the 200-day moving averages, that ends in this potential various retest or an attempt to retest like this. Like, look, again, this is the monthly. We had some indecision candles here, but the trend was already below the MA, and we have something like that, and then we enter this huge run. The question is, BTC dominance, if it breaks, oscillators wise, is hinting that there is room for a big fall. What about total free? Is it showing us that there is room for upside? Because if there is not, then it could be a trap. However, total free is at, as I said, 2023 levels. RSI, stock RSI wise, the momentum, all this reset, right? And just had a cross this month. So we have a lot of upside together with a lot of potential downside from BTC dominance. So far, this shows me that that big scenario, the real old season we are talking about, I don't know if it's going to be, or if it would be like in 2021, but there is plenty of room. We can't say altcoins are overheated at all. Perhaps some people say that because they open a particular chart and they're seeing that, I don't know, Pepe has run almost 200% in 2 or 3 weeks. Is really overheated. Overheated in what time frame, my dude? Are you talking about the daily? Are you talking about, I don't know, even the last couple of weeks? Or are you talking the real high time frame, the cycle move? Because this is far from overheated. Not even at Q4 levels. Not even at March levels. In fact, it's like before that big push. And a similar push would make total free finally break the 2021 levels, which in my opinion would make sense. This is confluence. This is the confluence I see. It makes sense considering that BTC dominance hasn't really rolled over yet. So it makes sense that altcoins are lagging. That's why most people say all season won't come this cycle, because they are not paying attention to this. Why do I say this? If we compare this to BTC, what has BTC done? Let me change the color. BTC broke its all-time high last year. So it's leading. People say no old season yet. Why? Do you really expect altcoins to front run BTC? They never did. You can see BTC leading, right? So this cycle, what I see is that altcoins haven't really, they just had retested and got perfectly rejected in December. In my opinion, this was just a taste. If everything keeps aligning the way it is, this is just a taste. I don't think it is a coincidence that BTC dominance is completely, or this starting to roll over right before attacking again the all-time high and potentially breaking it. At this stage of the cycle, I don't think it's a coincidence. Not at all. In fact, let me open... sorry. Let me open this. I think this is the chart where I had this. Is this a coincidence that the moment Ethereum starts to outperform heavily BTC, at least apparently, is at this reversal area like it did in last cycle? Do you really think it's a coincidence that BTC dominance rolls right here after such a blow of cycle, pretty much, threatening to lose the monthly MA for the first time this cycle, when total 3 is getting close to attacking the all-time high and potentially breaking it, with monthly suggesting that there is plenty of room? Think about that. Isn't that... I really like that confluence. I really like the way it's looking. If we take a look at USDT, we are taking a pause here. I said this was a crowded... This is the daily, by the way. This is a crowded area. So, of course, it could chop here. That's why it was my first target. Just an orientation, not my first TP target. right? We can see a small bullish divergence here, so we can chop for a while. Total 3 was showing a slight bearish divergence on the daily, again, showing potential chop. Would you really get chopped here? Just because when are we gonna hit the moon? I mean, follow a chart. If you don't follow a chart, if you're constantly asking for targets, perhaps you should start working on that mentality. Because by the time everything gets running, your emotions will really, really mess with you. And if you have never been through an old season and you are already anxious or worried or excited or whatever, if that moment comes, you will really know yourself. And it's going to be really hard. So I would rather start opening charts, creating my own strategy, and following my indicators to make a decisions only with trading view open. Because the moment everything starts running, you will open Twitter and feed your hopes, your desires in a never-ending loop of hype, and you will forget about this, and you will start just paying attention to crazy round targets. And that's the recipe for disaster. That's just my opinion, what I've been through. And trust me, I've been back holding shitcoins from 2021 to 2023, like a 95% plus drop. And I managed to get it all back by trading since 2023, and it's fucking painful. I wouldn't recommend anyone trying to just let themselves be overexcited and start looking for new cars or whatever before even making real gains. So that's just my 2 cents. So again, this is very oversold. There might be a bounce. I don't care. I don't really care. The weekly trend is clearly over. To the downside. Plenty of room. Hesitation here, like a little pause here when it was reverting. It found resistance for quite some time, but the trend was up. The same way now, right? The same way here. Up, chop, retest, up we go. I don't want to see this hold and reverse. There is nothing telling me that yet. So that's why I believe this is the next real target. And as I wanted to show, look at as I mentioned in a different post, look at the stock RSI level. This is very, very telling. This is telling me, I said this is not the main indicator that RSI is, yes, but this shows, as I said, oversold levels, overheated levels. Overheated levels for USDT, together with a huge divergence, which was bear market bottom for BTC. This was the reversal, right? The regular divergence, the marks a reversal. Look at the stock RSI overheated levels. It was telling us that it was close to over, right? And what do we have now? RSI with this push here, unable to surpass this level, showing weakness, showing that this potentially was a fake out in this downtrend. The same way we had a bullish here with the strong support, and that was what made us think that the Q4 December was the local top. And I say local because I don't see a true reversal yet. But it's now crossing below the MA again. The last time, yes, September, Q4 round. Might we see? But the thing is, when that happened, stock RSI wasn't really that overheated. So this was the Q4 round. So again, let's recap. We had BTC dominance looming for the first time, this bearish cross. We have total 3 with this potential cross at very oversold levels, the same way, inversely correlated as USDT is very overheated. Bear market levels. This could be the mother of all legs. So far, this is aligning, until invalidated, of course, with a huge run for the altcoin market. And if we take a look at BTC monthly, it has also crossed pretty much like total 3 from very oversold levels. Seriously, think about that. Is this really just a couple of weeks kind of cycle? Like just a few weeks left? Data doesn't suggest that. Data suggests that we have a few more months to run. I don't know. just a one data point, right? But let's take this as a reference. Pretty much the same level, even though it wasn't just a cross, but let's take this same level RSI. It was in October. It kept running until March, right? Say March, April, right? It's like 6 months. 6 months, more or less for now. You get into pretty much Q4. 4-year cycle. I'm not saying that 4-year cycle has to happen, but data suggests, considering these levels, see when it crossed here, pretty much same level. It was May. It doesn't mean it has to run because we are starting from a higher point. But what about, around here, November, like 4, 5, 6 more months? Why not? BTC dominance in that scenario, when this huge run started, topped and roll over. Is this it? Roll over for all these last leg. Total 3. Roll over. Explosion. Is this the start of the move? Very high time frame, monthly mostly. It's looking great. The same way we were paying attention to this cross on the weekly back in April, and we had it. This double bottom, right? We were talking about. Now we have this weekly that's behaving great. Apply that. Look at the stock RSI. Apply that to the monthly. It's barely starting. Let that sink in. This is just data. I don't want to get overly bullish. I'm still cautious. I just want data to confirm all this. And it's working out. We said for weeks that we wouldn't touch this chart if it was an icon because it was a matter of time. And it's happening. It's happening on the monthly. It's happening on the weekly. We said it a few times, unable to surpass RSI, and it is rolling over. It happened on the daily with this various divergence. It was a matter of time. I drew this. It was a little bit. It went a little bit above. I said, who cares? It's just a matter of time, and it's happening. Everything is looking great, and I can see that. I mean, if this is the mother of all traps, kudos to market makers. They got me. They got me good. But every time I have analyzed everything in hindsight, and every time I didn't follow the technicals, later I realized that it was just about following them. So if you buy this breakout, how does it look now? Like the whole move. If you see these holds, why don't you think, okay, if this was a good moment to push, this is the same situation? Or if you see that this is a break below and you see dead cat bounce here, okay, this is way below EMA, I'm out, because that's what my strategy says. What if it's a fake out? Well, that's your risk. That's you take a look at wicks as well. You develop your own strategy, right? But this looks weak, this second impulse. So it's about following your strategy and your technicals. And technical says that, again, we might be entering a new cycle, monthly cycle. I mean, that could be like a 4, 5, 6 more months. I'm not saying a whole new bull market, because this bull market isn't over, right? But what about the SPX? What did I say? That these huge crashes, by the way, the 22% that I said around 6K to previous top here, we had the pretty much front run like in BTC. Perfect action. And I said, we have reset the whole, like a whole bear market in just a couple of months, 3-4 months, because all the tariff fear. And when the fear was, and I think when the market realized this fear was an overreaction, you had this week. And now you have reclaimed this support. The difference is the monthly, right, is trying to attack this. Again, you can see that SPX suffered way more than BTC. So that's why it is lagging. BTC already has this cross because it didn't do that bad in April. But look at the monthly. How can you say this is over? Unless it gets rejected here, and this is just like a fake move. I don't really think it's a fake move, because in my opinion, for it to be a fake move, perhaps propelled by future leveraging, like pure gambling euphoria, we should see euphoria in the market for this to be like the second leg for BTC in 2021, right? It wasn't supported by a spot. The spot move was already exhausted. It was just pure euphoria. That was the oscillator we're showing, right? Here. New all-time high, but a very weak move below the MA, and it got rejected. But so far, this move is still in disbelief for the SPX. And you can see the sentiment is way, way low. The reaction here will be key, the same way I said for BTC here, the final boss. So far, so good, because weekly and all the other time frames are doing well. But we needed to wait for this, and it's about to print across here. It's crossing here, even closing above these levels this month would confirm this break. The SPX is suggesting that, okay, we might be ready for another push, right? We have, as I said in November, building the weekly, huge, since April, March, huge divergence that it eventually played out with this double rejection that I said here at around 6K. I said this double rejection means the cycle is over, at least this run. Some people might say, okay, but you were wrong, the cycle wasn't over. Are you sure? Because this is the 22% drop that I said, just because, I mean, if this is over, I said it might retest the previous top, and going below 20% is considered a bear market. So that would technically be a bear market. And now, since the new push, it's in a bull market again. I mean, percentage-wise, the monthly suggests that this is a new market, bull market. The thing is, it was very sharp. The oscillator reset very, very sharply. In 2021, it took like a whole year to fully reset. It didn't here. And it was really overheated with a monthly variance divergence, right? You could argue this is a variance divergence, but we'll see in the future. I think everything looks good. Every chart, USDT and BTC dominance, the monthly about to roll over. Ethereum BTC found its bottom and is pushing really, really back up. I haven't checked the monthly, but look at these oversold levels, man. We have never seen that. And I said, Ethereum BTC is in a bear market. Because if the 50 weekly is a sign of a bull market for Ethereum, this is a bear market because it was rejected constantly. And then we reach this area. Pretty like historic oversold levels. And then what do we see? Tremendous pump. Even bigger than this, because the RSI wasn't as oversold here. And the same level is respected. I'm not saying this is going to happen again, but who knows? So far, so good. We are at this level, this bounce. The difference is it didn't chop for months. It just made it in one candle. And it's threatening to break the MA. Do you know what will happen if the MA is reclaimed? If I saw this, and if I didn't know we were now in a bull market or bear market or whatever, I would say, okay, this could be the start of a new leg. What's the time frame? Monthly. I don't care. It's the new leg. I don't care about the time frame. I'm just paying attention to this. If this is a new monthly week leg, a new monthly leg, it could last many candles, and every candle is a month. So I don't know. I'm not gonna try to be smart, look smart, and say, oh, this is just a small bounce because crashing late Q4, bear market in 2026. Let me tell you something. There's no data supporting that. There's no data supporting a huge bull market into, I don't know, Q4. There might be some hints, as I said, if we start a new monthly leg. There is no data for a bear market in 2026, late 2025, or a huge bull market, there is no data for any of that yet. You can speculate, but speculating that far Without proper data, it's just that, speculation. You can show conviction in your calls. You can take advantage of your position as an influencer, of your previous experience, whatever. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Right? It's just there is no data so far in the road, right? So ahead, there is no data. Remember all the bears saying that the markets were about to crash since 2022. Just because, trust me, bro, because I think that could happen, because I see some stuff and I believe it's going to happen. I believe, but there's no data to support that. And they've been wrong for 3 years, right? And they might be eventually right, because this is about cyclical moves. So there will be a time when we go back down again. So you miss the whole bull run to say, I told you so. It doesn't make any sense. The same way for bulls, right? They will be wrong at some point. Otherwise, there wouldn't be cycle. So there is no data to go that far. All I know is I said, let me just look for it for a moment, because I said I don't want to, again, I never want to pretend. I said things that I never said. Look at this post, March, okay? And I said, in the 50 weekly, EMA has acted as a bull run support for BTC this whole cycle. Then the same metric, Ethereum BTC has been in a bear market. It's been completely rejected, right? Sorry, completely rejected by the 50. And it's far, and I said it was far for turning things around. This was March. It was far because it needed to reach this whole support area first, right? This was March. Still far. Yes, we needed to come back here. And now this 50, which was here in the stock RSI. Let me open the 50. I think this was the monthly, right? Not the 1 week. I'm gonna show you the exact chart. I don't want you to be confused. I haven't checked the 50 since back then, actually. So we're gonna see it now live. This is the 50. Still very, very far from it. So you need to reclaim it to enter like a real bull market. So far we are bouncing from this level, so there's still work to do, but by the time we get here, you might have missed a big run, right? So I said it's been rejected. So it's, if the 50, the same way we applied to BTC, was the bull market support, this has been in a bear market. By the time it reclaims and holds, Ethereum is in a bull market against BTC. You can see that in 2017, it broke, crazy run until the end of the cycle, crazy run for altcoins. Same in 2020, slowly recline, retest here, hold, and there you go, the full old season. So there's still room for growth, and everything points in the good direction. We just need to be patient, in my opinion. This is just daily chop, daily rest before the best, hopefully. Again, I hope this video has been useful, and when everything gets to very interesting levels again, I will make another update. Until then, take care. Bye.